Sound check. Can you guys hear us online? You want to comment and turn off the sound on your computer? All right, great. Right here. Thank you so much for your patience. Again, we're so sorry for the technical difficulties. We're going to go ahead and share our screen now with the slideshow. Just one moment. Perfect. Now you have to share the screen. Oh, I think you are because I'm in there. All right. So again, I apologize for the technical difficulties. My name is Marcella with the Town of Davie in the Procurement Division, and I am a procurement agent. So I created this slideshow for you guys to provide informative information on how to do business with the Town of Davie. Is anyone currently doing business with the Town of Davie or have an active contract with the town? And just to let you know, we are viewing the comments as well, so you guys are more than welcome to add some comments in there. And again, please comment your company name. So in regards to our introduction, a few things that I wanted to point out to you is, if you are not already aware, the Town of Davie is a Western themed town, not necessarily a city, which makes us very different from a lot of other cities around here. And we have over 100,000 residents here across 35 square miles. So as you know, the Town of Davie is pretty much taking up everything off of 595. And another thing that I wanted to inform you is that the Town of Davie, specifically the Procurement Division, we do have a lot of pride with a lot of the awards that we have won over the years. And Kiana could kind of inform us of some of the most recent awards that we have received. One of them that I could think off the top of my head is for Payment Works vendor registration, which we'll jump into later throughout the slide. And aside from the FAPO here that we mentioned, is there another one off the top of your head that you could think of that we recently received?
We're submitting for the NPI soon, which is the National Procurement Institute. So we usually get that. We've gotten it, I think, every year for the past 4 or 5 years.
Consecutively.
Yes.
So we definitely have a lot of pride here in the Procurement Division specifically, because we do follow specific protocols and we do follow a lot of Florida statute regulations. So another thing that I wanted to inform you, that I just got this information yesterday, is as of February, we currently have 640 active contracts throughout our community. So this includes services and goods. This includes piggybacks and regular solicitations that we have solicited ourselves. On the side of the screen here, I listed all of our departments, just so you guys are aware of all the type of services maybe you could provide to all of the departments here. Are there any questions specifically in regards to the introduction before we proceed? So some of the main topics that we will be going over are the solicitation thresholds and differences, the Town of Davie procurement homepage. So I'll show you guys how to navigate through the homepage, and also OpenGov, which is the electronic bidding platform that we currently use at this time. Is anyone familiar with the platform OpenGov? That's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. And if you're online, you could go ahead and comment in there if you're familiar with OpenGov, and we'll touch more on that as we continue. I will also go over our current solicitations, future solicitation opportunities, insurance, additional requirements, and our vendor registration, which we currently use as Payment Works. How to maintain your contract, and common mistakes that I wanted to show you to help you keep a nice, clean contract with us. Are there any questions before we begin? So again, the first thing I wanted to show you guys were our thresholds. So just to inform you that we do follow the Florida statute thresholds. There are some agencies that their thresholds are a little bit different, and pretty much what makes a difference between the different thresholds are how the department can move forward with what they need. So the first section here, you see purchases between $0 and $5,000. The department only needs a minimum of one quote to get that service or product. So let's say that they need somebody to come by and fix, what's an example? They could come fix a light post or something. If we don't have a contract already for it and they have a vendor off the top of their mind that they could contact, they'll just contact them, get a quote. And if it's under $5,000, they could just work directly with them without having an actual contract. The thing is the department kind of is the one who contacts the vendors directly. So we do everything in procurement on the back end. Once it comes to providing the services to the department, that's something that you guys have to try to inform the department that you are there, you are available, and you have these products or services. So in that way, you could be a vendor that they could contact, especially if it's something under $5,000. Are there any questions in regards to the first category? So the next category is informal thresholds. So this is over $5,000 in a penny up to $35,000 in a penny. So in this threshold, we have either a ITQ, which is an invitation to quote. So you might see those abbreviations fairly often because a lot of other agencies use more or less the same abbreviations. So ITQ is invitation to quote, RFP is request for proposal. So in this category specifically, it's more of a quicker contract process. So for example, right now I'm working on an ITQ for the Public Works Department. They're looking to replace a sign right up here. They knew for a fact it was going to be under $35,000, but a little over $5,000. So they gave me all the information. We put it in OpenGov, we solicit it. And typically these types of bids are a quicker process because it doesn't need that much approval beforehand compared to the next category. So ITQs are fairly quick, and just to inform you, departments could also piggyback contracts as well, which is something we'll get to later on in the presentation. So the next category is formal thresholds. So as you can see, this is for any purchases that are over $35,000, and this could be either an ITB, which is an invitation to bid, an RFP, which is request for proposals, an RFQ, which is request for qualifications. So what makes the difference between an informal and a formal is what the department has to provide and also the process. So the process is very different. With a formal threshold, there are additional approvals that are required beforehand and after the fact. So typically with a formal bid, they have to have authorization from town administration beforehand, and then even after the fact once they're ready to award. And sometimes, depending on what's the threshold amount for the formal, like if it's over $65,000, then they have to take it to council. It's a whole bunch of, it's a longer process for sure. But then again, those are larger projects. So again, those are the abbreviations, and we do follow the Florida statute. So whenever the Florida statute does update, then we'll also update our thresholds. Just to inform you, not every agency uses these types of thresholds. They are very different. So if you have any specific questions, it's always good to reach out to that agency. Are there any questions right now in regards to the thresholds and the differences? Okay, great. So as we continue, I am on the Town of Davie website, and I'm showing you guys how to find the procurement division. And also right there, you can see a list of all the departments. So when you go in there, it's kind of more or less the same format as this one here, because as you go through each department, you will be able to see their information, including their contact information. So if you wanted to specifically contact the IT department, you could go where I just was, and you could go to the IT department or Public Works, and you could find their project managers or contact information. So I kind of did that here as well, so you could see how I navigated to get to the procurement division page. And on the green side over here, there are sub-tabs, which we'll go over a few of them, but if you have any specific questions, you could always go to our contact us, which we'll kind of breeze through shortly. Any questions at this time? So in this next tab here, I'm showing you guys how to find our current bids on our town website. So at this moment, we are using the platform OpenGov, which I see that most of you guys are already registered and are a member of OpenGov, which is great. And just to inform you, if you are not familiar with OpenGov, it's actually a free platform for vendors, and the agencies are the ones that pay the memberships. So I highly recommend to go ahead and create a free account if you haven't done so already. And I'll kind of run through that as we continue on in the presentation. But in case you don't have an OpenGov account, we give you the steps right here, how to subscribe to our account, and it's just very simple. It's very easy. We try to make it as simple as possible for you guys, because at the end of the day, we want you guys to submit, So if you have any questions specifically, obviously you could contact us. So in this next slide here, I wanted to show you, in case you don't have an OpenGov account, when you go in there, it'll just ask you to sign up. You go ahead and enter in your company email. I went ahead myself and created an account just to see what it is that you guys go through as vendors and see how the process goes, and also to inform you how easy it is to create your free account. So I created my account. I went ahead and put in my company information, and this is just a quick video showing you how simple it is to go through that process. And has anyone recently created their OpenGov account? Or you guys have had an OpenGov account for some time? That's great to hear. So something that I want to point out, when you put your company information, definitely use a reliable contact number, because that will be displayed on your OpenGov profile. Are there any questions at this time in regards to creating your account? Great. So I went ahead, created my account, I activated it. And when I activated it, in case you're not familiar with the platform, it walks you through what each tab is and how to navigate through this. I actually really like this platform compared to others for the fact that if you are working on something, you could go ahead and leave it as a draft and you could review it later or finish it later. And also you could subscribe to certain agencies. So something that I wanted to also inform you is that after I created this account, I created my own business in OpenGov. I actually got emails from other municipalities. I got an email from Lauderdale Lakes that they followed my company. So they're clearly interested in looking for vendors to provide services for them. So again, if you haven't created your account, highly recommend to do so, because other agencies are looking for vendors to provide services. So this is me with my account. I highly recommend to take the time to customize your account, and it's put as much information in there, including category codes. Have you guys taken the time to review your category codes, and have you all selected multiple category codes? The reason why I say this is because me, as a procurement agent, when I solicit bids, obviously I put all the basic information of the scope of work and everything that they're looking for, but the way to broadcast it is based on your category code. Okay, so that's why I highly recommend to take the time not only to update your profile, but think outside the box when it comes to category codes. So for example, if you are an air conditioning company, there are category codes for air conditioning, but I highly recommend also to look for like new construction bids, look for like renovation bids, because you could actually get notified when those type of solicitations are out on the road. And you could actually follow those bids, and whoever gets awarded, the general contractor, you could call them and say, hey, I seen you got awarded this bid, and I could provide you air conditioning units. So definitely think outside the box when it comes to your category codes when you're setting up your profile here. Are there any questions at this time? So again, I want to remind you that this is open to the public. So these are the category codes I selected. You do have the option to upload your certifications, licenses, and any additional documents. So definitely go ahead and provide your W-9, your insurance, your licenses, because just like the example I informed you that City of Lauderdale Lakes contacted me or requested me to subscribe to them, they could see all this information, and they'll probably even contact you directly if they need a service that's under $5,000, if it's a one and done kind of thing. Are there any questions at this time? So we are using OpenGov at this time, as I mentioned, and we're back on the town website. And on the town website, this is pretty much the same page where I was. If you don't want to log into OpenGov, you could actually just go on the town website. You could see a live screen of our active solicitations. So this video is a little outdated, I apologize, but if you go on the town website at this time, you'll be able to see all of our active solicitations. Oh, what's going on? Kiana, you messed it up.
Hey, Kiana, you got this. I'll do that for you.
No. Okay, let's see. I apologize, guys, for the technical difficulties today. So this is pretty much on OpenGov. I'm giving the example of this bid that we were soliciting, how to navigate through the OpenGov website, and you can actually follow any projects. And again, we're not the only agency or municipality that is on OpenGov. There are other cities, like I've mentioned, Lauderdale Lakes. You could follow them as a whole, or also follow any projects. So when it comes to following a project, you'll be notified if there's any addendums, any notices published, and also like the example I gave earlier in regards to the air conditioning company. So if there's a construction bid and maybe you're someone that offers, does someone want to give me an example of a company that they have? So maybe I could try to use that as an example. Playgrounds, great. So playgrounds, let me think. If we are doing playgrounds, typically playgrounds are very complex for us because the equipment itself is hard to find and it's very unique. But if you see that there's a solicitation open for playgrounds, maybe you are a company that does asphalt or you're a company that does turf, you could follow that bid, the playground bid, and whoever's awarded, you could call your company, the playground company, and say, hey, I know you've been awarded the bid for the playground. Do you need turf? Do you need whatever it is that you offer? So just because that specific project doesn't necessarily pertain to your company, try to think outside the box on how you could offer your services. So maybe your company won't provide the whole pie, but you're probably a key piece to that pie. Are there any questions at this time? So we are using OpenGov, but we started using OpenGov in June 2024. Prior to that, we were using DemandStar and we were publishing our bids on our town website. I'm kind of informing you here how to find our old bids, because any bids after June 2024 are available on OpenGov. But then again, maybe you want to use another bid as a reference. So typically a lot of bids that we publish, we probably published them in the past and we're probably just redoing it because the contract ended. So I'm only showing you this because let's say you have a roofing company and you see that there's a bid out there for roofing. You could always check on our town website and see if we've done this bid in the past. And you can use that as a reference and see maybe who responded to that bid, the prices they submitted, and that'll kind of help you navigate on how you're going to tackle that moving forward, if that makes sense. Does anyone have any questions in regards to using our town website and navigating through our old solicitations? So I kind of use this here as an example, this roofing replacement. And again, we do a lot of roofing replacements. So in case you're not sure on if you're bidding too high, too low, you could always check our old solicitations to kind of get an idea on what other vendors have solicited and also to see what other vendors have won those bids and information of the solicitation. But at the bottom here are the documents for this bid. So again, I'm showing you this to kind of help you when you do come to responding to any new solicitations. So just to kind of point out here, we have like our bid opening report, which is the third document. And we also have the responses from the vendors. And we have our tabulation, who was awarded. So you could definitely use this as an advantage when it comes to submitting any new bids. Does anyone have any questions in regards to navigating through our town website? So some key factors that I wanted to bring to your attention on building your toolkit is make sure you're active on Sunbiz, because that's definitely one thing that we do verify when vendors submit. Make sure you're active on there, verify all your company information, such as your phone number, addresses, and know your competition. That's why I just showed you how to look up old bids, how to see what people submitted before. And you could also look through that contract to see how long was that contract. Was it a 2-year contract? And kind of do the math to determine if, more or less, if it's going to be higher rates now because of inflation or tariffs or whatever it is. So definitely know your competition. You could see who was awarded that bid. So you could even contact that vendor. You could do whatever it is that you please, but know your competition for sure. And when it comes to your toolkit and creating your OpenGov account, you could also provide your references. Make sure your references are still at that company. That's for sure, because we've had situations where we contact references and they don't even know who we're talking about when we ask about a company. So when it comes to submitting your bid, that's one of the things that is a question that we request is provide references. So definitely make sure they are reliable people that we could contact. And you also want to make sure that you have the correct certificate of insurance requirements. And we all actually provide an example on our town website. And also with the bid itself, we include information on what it is we need, the limits, and worst case scenario, you can always call us and we'll help you out on what you need. We also have a representative here in HR that could verify your information as well in case you have any questions. So this last bullet here is just additional information that I included here just to kind of help you guys out. So let's say that you are a company. Anyone else want to give me another example of a company that they have? Like I know we have Playground. What was it? Paving. Great. So maybe you have specific, I'm sure there's like different types of material for the pavement.
Right.
So when you create your OpenGov account, list all the materials you have. For the playground, for example, list all the different playground equipment that you have, because this is something that we'll be looking at after the fact. We could definitely check out your OpenGov account, and the more information, the better. And keep in mind, like I informed you earlier with the thresholds, if it's something under $5,000, the department could contact you directly. So again, take the time to create your OpenGov account, provide all the services, all the products, and even if it's something like rental equipment, include like a daily rate, a weekly rate. So in that way, the department could kind of make a decision right away, because obviously the department kind of wants to avoid procurement as much as possible. So they want to find the easiest process to get what they want and what they need. So definitely include as much information as possible in your OpenGov profile and also in your submission. And it's definitely important to include a work history. So if you have any current contracts with any municipality, or if you've had any contracts, definitely include that information on your OpenGov profile, because one thing is that we could piggyback any contracts, which we'll kind of dive into in a later slide here, but that's kind of a way around us soliciting a bid, is that our agency could actually piggyback on another contract. So let's say for playgrounds, I'm sure there's other agencies that utilize your services. So they could contact that agency, see how the services are going, if you guys are responsive and whatever, and we could actually utilize that same contract rather than going through the whole solicitation process. So we'll kind of dive into that a little later. But another thing, if you have any subcontractors, include that information as well, because again, the more information you have, the better.
I think regarding the piggybacking, someone
Yes.
asked like the Omnia contract.
Yeah, so we'll get into the piggybacking in just a moment. I think it's on the next slide. But does anybody have any questions in regards to the toolkit and like what to provide? So in case you have any questions in regards to like what do I need for my insurance certificate, like I just mentioned, or how to kind of navigate through certain things, we do have a supplier central on our town website. This is in the procurement page, kind of where I showed you guys earlier. So we do have like frequently asked questions, which I'm sure will answer whatever question that you may have. And also important links. So you have how to go to our OpenGov, and we also do have our option there. Does anyone have any questions? So vendor registration. Before we used to do paper vendor registration, and we no longer do that. Again, every agency is different, but we do use this platform called PaymentWorks. Is anyone familiar with that platform that has used that? Great, that's good to know. So pretty much it's a secured platform where vendors could go ahead and register to do business with the town. Sometimes we get some calls and companies ask us, how can I register as a vendor? It doesn't necessarily work like that. We don't just have everyone register to the town of Davie. So for you to actually register with the town, you have to technically be awarded a contract. So that's along the process. If you get awarded a contract, then you'll actually be invited to register with the town as a vendor. So as you go through your vendor registration process, it is very secure. It asks you questions, and you do have the ability to sign up for ACH payment as well. So if you are awarded a contract, we will go ahead and email you, as I mentioned. So it says that I invited you to register as a Town of Davie vendor. And it's just that simple. You go ahead, you'll get the email and you'll register, and we'll take it from there pretty much. Does anyone have any questions in regards to vendor registration? Some common mistakes that I wanted to inform you is certificate of insurance. There are so many contracts that are delayed because the vendor is just not paying attention to what it is that we require, the requirements here for the town of Davie. So we do have a specific procurement staff who checks the vendor registration and who reviews this information. But then again, I'm bringing this to your attention because this is just so common and it delays so much. So you definitely want to make sure that your certificate of insurance is up to date first and foremost. And we do have like general requirements for all of our bids. If there's anything specific, it'll be mentioned in the scope of work. Another common mistake is late submissions. I bring this to your attention because there are other vendors that we have noticed that they submit to a bid, but they mess up certain things. Maybe they use that same bid response for another agency. So maybe they responded to City of Fort Lauderdale and they're trying to submit the same information to us because there was a similar bid. And they have minor mistakes in there, but there's certain things that we catch on to. So as you know, we're Town of Davie. Some people put City of Davie. It's just little minor things. And maybe they'll even include City of Fort Lauderdale or City of Lauderdale because they're using the information they submitted to Fort Lauderdale and resubmitting it to us. So definitely don't wait till last minute to submit your bids because you definitely want to take the time to review everything. And again, as I mentioned, you want to verify your submission. And if you see something up you want to double check to make sure if there's any pre-bids. So for example, like playgrounds or like turf or even like asphalt, like you've mentioned, those type of solicitations typically have a pre-bid. So you want to definitely make sure that you follow the project, check the information, see if there's a pre-bid, because if it's a mandatory pre-bid and you're not there, you take all the time and effort to submit your response, but technically we won't even look at it because you never showed up to the mandatory pre-bid. So even if yourself as the manager of the company can't show up, maybe your key person or a project manager, at least someone will go there on your company's behalf and go ahead and review the information that the project manager is mentioning. Any questions in regards to like pre-bids or submissions? So I had some lady, she actually visited me yesterday, and she was kind of discouraged because she's asking all these questions, trying to submit to some bid that I'm working on. And there was a mandatory pre-bid, but she came super early and it was in the afternoon. So she came yesterday. She's like, oh, well, I was there. It's like, yeah, you were there, but you were not there, you know? So it's like, we have a sign-in sheet and everything. And if there's a site visit, it's really important that you're there. So unfortunately, that person could not, I mean, they could bid, but it's going to be overlooked for sure. And it's just kind of a waste of time for yourself as a company. And when it comes to payment works, I did mention that you do have the ability to sign up for ACH payment, which is an advantage to you guys. So you don't have to wait to receive a check in the mail. When it does come to that point, they do a verification call. So it is very secure. They do want to verify all the information. And we want to make sure that the information that you provide is also publicly linked to the company. So I'm just bringing this up because there has been scenarios in the past where the vendors are trying to sign up for ACH, but they put like their personal cell phone number, but the cell phone number is not listed anywhere on the company page. It's not listed in Google. It's not listed anywhere. So it's kind of a red flag. So just some common mistakes here. Any questions in regards to common mistakes? So some key terms to know are local preference. Is anyone here located in Davie? Like, is their business located in Davie? How about in the Broward County area? That's good to know because technically you would fall under our local Broward County vendor preference. So it all depends when you respond to our solicitation. If you are 2.5% of the lowest vendor, will actually contact you both, and you guys have the opportunity to put a best and final offer. So just a 411 if you are a local Broward County vendor or even a Town of Davie vendor. I know some people had some questions in regards to piggybacking. Is anyone familiar with piggybacking? Great. Is anyone not familiar with piggybacking? Just curious to see who is not familiar with it. So pretty much what piggybacking is it's kind of like a shortcut for a lot of project managers and departments because they don't have to go through the whole solicitation process. So like, for example, right now I'm working on a bid for like sign replacement. That's not something that we could piggyback because it's like specific information for the sign, this location. So no one would necessarily piggyback it, but there are some bids that we've done, such as like power, and we've done, I'm trying to think of some that we've done, because we have so many piggybacks that we've done and also that other agencies use, such as porta potties, for example. Porta potties, that's something that a lot of municipalities need. So let's say that somebody has a contract already for porta potties, like the city of Fort Lauderdale. Instead of us going through the whole process, we could actually utilize that contract. So if you see that there's something out there, sorry, that's my phone, I apologize. But if you see that there's a contract out there, just keep that in mind, because if there's a solicitation that you're unsure, if you're bidding too high, too low, you know, I gave you the resources on how to look back to see if we've done it before. keep in mind that there are other agencies that could piggyback off that contract. So maybe you are bidding a little low, but then again, maybe another agency could utilize that contract, and that's giving you that pretty much, that's just a good benefit to have under your belt to inform an agency like, hey, you know, I currently have a contract already with the city of Fort Lauderdale, and you could actually utilize this. Does anyone have any questions specifically about piggybacking? Yes?
Do they have to be on OpenGov, like those type of contracts, or how do you choose like what are the limits of cities you can like piggyback off of?
Okay, so for example, I'm just using city of Fort Lauderdale. Let's say that they have a contract for air conditioning, right? And maybe their process is not exactly the same as ours. Their terms are not exactly the same as ours, but that department could get all that information and we will actually incorporate it to our terms and conditions. So even if, let's say that contract ends and you don't renew with them, and you could still renew with us and we'll continue on. So it doesn't necessarily have to be on OpenGov, because we just, well, again, when I say we, it's a town, but the department is the one who searches for that contract. So again, like I mentioned, maybe when it comes to bidding on a contract, you're not sure if you're bidding too high, too low. Keep in mind that other agencies could utilize this contract, so it might be a win for you. Even if you get awarded, because other agencies will see that and they'll be able to utilize it as well. And again, the departments are the ones who do this research and they find other contracts. And this is typically a first route for them, because again, the department kind of wants to avoid soliciting and going through that whole process. So if they could piggyback a contract, that's usually the first step that they go. You had a question, sir?
So the feedback contract, they're locked in at the price from that previously awarded.
Correct. So let's say,
It has to be a pretty apples for apples job and scope work. You can't.
yeah, for sure. So there's definitely some things that are not piggybackable, like the signs bid that I'm doing, because it's so specific to that location, that sign. So obviously that's something we can't necessarily piggyback. But there are a lot of common things that multiple agencies use and need, such as playground equipment. A lot of different cities, they need playground equipment. And that's actually one of the contracts that a lot of agencies piggyback, because they know, okay, city of Fort Lauderdale is using that contract. They review all the information and then they'll contact you directly and they'll say, you know, we want to piggyback this contract. They'll double check with the city, make sure you guys are all good, no issues. And then they start the piggyback paperwork process. So again, this kind of avoids going through the whole solicitation and them just using pretty much the same pricing that you submitted to that city as well. So maybe you'll be submitting a low bid, but then again, it's the possibility of other agencies utilizing your contract. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify.
But just to let you know, whenever you do a renewal, there is a option to increase your rate. There is a percentage. I don't recall off the top of my head. I think it's like 2.5 or 5% that you could increase every renewal. So that's something to consider as well. Yes?
If you piggyback any national cooperatives, Omnia, NASPO.
Oh, for sure. Yes. So one of the platforms, or pretty much all the platforms you just stated, Sourcewell, Omnia, there's a whole bunch, there's GSA, there's a whole bunch of different platforms that list contracts that could be piggybackable, if it's like general services or products. So they'll actually list it on there, and that's where the departments actually look to try to find a contract to hopefully provide the service or product that they need. Yes?
And would you have to be awarded that contract from, I guess, the bigger company in order to figure out, or just you submitting and that they see?
No, it's the awarded vendor. It's the awarded vendor. But keep in mind that there are some occasions where the department might determine to award more than one vendor, or they might award the contract by line item if it's multiple items, like providing plants or providing signs, for example. Maybe there was 4 vendors in total that responded. Prices are kind of all over the place. So they might award by line item. So there's probably 4 vendors awarded on that contract. Yes?
If you've been awarded a contract, can you contact other cities and say, hey, would you like to pick it?
Oh, for sure, because you could inform them, hey, I just got awarded this contract with the Town of Davie. Maybe this is a service that you may need. So again, all these departments kind of want to avoid the solicitation process, and that's kind of their first step, is looking for a contract that's already out there that they could utilize. Yes?
A lot of municipalities require between 3 to 5 years experience of working with other municipalities. So if you're with a company that's growing and doesn't have the 3 to 5 year experience, do you guys take that into account, or you just want, or you just choose companies that have the experience already?
It all depends on the type of bid it is. So for example, we just recently did a fire burglar alarm bid. We want to make sure those people have experience and they've been, you know, in business for a few years before we lock into something like that. So every bid will be different. All the requirements will technically be different. So it's very important to read the scope of work and requirements for those contracts. But it's not a general for everything. Any other questions in regards to piggybacks? Do we have something online?
I don't know if it's regarding piggybacks, but it says, do you have any evaluation credits for veteran-owned business?
Not that I know of off the top of my head, but if you like, you could actually email us. I'll provide the email at the end of the slide, so you could email me directly and I'll be able to verify that information for you. So another thing that I wanted to bring to your attention, which is actually really great, is cooperative purchases. So it's kind of similar to piggybacking, because with cooperative purchases, this is something obviously that any other agency could utilize. But when it comes to cooperative purchases, I'll give you 2 examples. I just recently did 2 contracts for power washing and for porta potty rentals. So again, this is something that we know every city probably need. So what we did is we took the initiative, because there was no piggybacks for it, technically, like no other contracts out there technically that we could piggyback. We took the initiative to speak to our co-op group. So if you're not aware, the Town of Davie and a bunch of other agencies around here are part of the NIGP, which is the National Institute of Government Procurement. So we actually have like quarterly meetings, and we meet up, we discuss your needs, my needs, issues, whatnot. And we actually have a meeting next Thursday. And in those meetings, we might discuss, hey, City of Plantation, do you guys have a power washing bid? No, we don't have one. Nobody has one. So you know what? The Town of Davie took the initiative to create a cooperative contract. So pretty much is that we did a contract on behalf of everyone in the co-op group. Of the Southeast Florida chapter, right? That's how it's called. So that's Davie, that's Plantation, that's Sunrise, that's Fort Lauderdale, that is Southwest Ranches. So the co-op is huge. I can't recall off the top of my head, but it's definitely over 20 agencies that are part of the co-op group. So as I was mentioning, when I created these contracts for the co-op, like the porta potty and power washing, the terms and conditions and the documentation is a little different compared to the other solicitations, because those bids are kind of not just speaking on behalf of the town, but the whole co-op group. So for example, with the power washing bid, I think we awarded like 2 or 3 vendors for that. And we finished all the paperwork, and then we shared it with our co-op group. So whenever you see a bid for like a co-op, that should be like, man, run and try to do what you can to get that bid, because it's not just one agency. Again, they could piggyback it, but you're putting in a bid for like a whole huge boundary of cities. Does anyone have any other questions in regards to co-op groups or co-op purchases? So with that porta potty solicitation I mentioned, we took the initiative, and now everyone in the co-op group could utilize that contract. So that could work for also playgrounds, that could work with turf, with any type of pavement. So definitely again, take the time to submit your bids, do some research, and see how you could try to get a contract with a city. That's definitely that's just so good to have under your belt as a company for sure, because other municipalities could utilize those contracts. And just to inform you, if an agency is, even if you weren't awarded a bid, we could see your response. So like, for example, the signs bid, maybe we just went with the lowest vendor. They're able to provide what we need, but maybe in a couple months, I have to solicit another bid that's fairly similar. And I'll actually grab those vendors' information that submitted to the sign bid, and I'll put their email in there. So they'll be notified when I solicit this new signs bid. So just definitely go ahead and take the time to set up your account, and definitely take the time to review this information, because it's definitely a very good thing to have under your company, having a contract with a municipality. Does anyone have any any questions about contracting? Great, so I just have a few little key terms here. Economic, which is best value through competition. And then that's pretty much it. If anyone has any specific questions, I did include again, the procurement page here. This is our key staff. We also have the departments that they run, and then our contact information. Does anyone have any questions at this time? Yes?
So I have a pooper scooper company, and normally this isn't something that people are familiar with. We actually do work with the city of Miami, city of Homestead. So what would you suggest? I know we can go directly to the agencies, but in terms of essentially introducing a service that, you know, most agencies and municipalities are not familiar with, do you have recommendations about that?
Is this like with the little sign thing,
So
with the bags? Is
we can do
what it
that
is?
as well, and then we also provide the actual service of removing the waste.
Oh, okay. So from at least my experience, typically it's like the Parks and Recreation Department that kind of looks for those type of services. So I highly recommend, do you have any contracts at this time with any agencies?
So City of Miami.
Oh, okay, that's
City
right.
Homestead, yes.
So as I mentioned, the departments, they want to use contracts that are already out there. And we can, even though we're Broward County, we can utilize any contracts from other counties. We could even utilize a contract from Alaska. You know, any contract we could utilize. So the best way that I would recommend to kind of network yourself is, first, obviously take the time to create your OpenGov account. Make sure that you take the time to go over those commodity codes, how I mentioned. So for an example for you is maybe check if there's any commodity codes for like parks, or if there's any commodity codes for fields, grass, things like that, because obviously, let's say there's a contract out there for that they're redoing the turf, and you could follow that bid and you could see who's awarded, and you could ask them, you know, like, do you know if they may need this service? Or you could just actually just contact that agency directly. But I feel like the best way to really kind of network and put yourself out there is taking the time to set up your OpenGov account and think outside the box when it comes to commodity codes.
Also, just to put my 2 cents in, like Marcella said earlier, kind of thinking outside the box. So in Davie, our police department uses horses to get around sometimes, some of the officers. So like also that, I think if PD needed that would also.
Also, you could even contact our PD department, and I'm pretty sure the city of Miami also uses horses as well. So you could inform them that you provide that service, or any other agencies that you know that uses horses, which I feel like a lot of cities do. You could definitely inform them. And the best way to do that is to provide your booklet or your pamphlet or whatever it is with your business, letting them know this is what I got. Because again, maybe they just need your service for an event. So there are some, like, they do some events for like dogs, like pup and chow or whatever. maybe they just need your service for that specific event. So definitely look out for those city events. Check on like websites, Google, whatever. And if you see that they have those type of events going on, like I know sometimes in the city of Fort Lauderdale, they do have a lot of things like that where it's like they bring their dogs and it's kind of interactive. So definitely reach out to them, find out who's the project manager or who's in charge of that, and let them know you have that service, because I'm pretty sure one person necessarily doesn't want to do that service.
Also, you can go on the town website, like she mentioned, and you can go to the specific department and you can contact them through there. You can just, send an email, attachment, yeah, introduction, so that if anything, they can remember, oh, I remember months ago I got this, this is perfect, I can use them.
So just to add on to what Beth said, if you do want to go ahead and contact the departments directly, don't just put, like when it comes to the subject, think of what you're putting as a subject, because later, like maybe we see your email now, but we don't need the service right now, and we want to look for the email later on. So make sure that your subject of the actual email is like fairly clear of what it is that you provide or your business. So in that way they could search later for it as well. Are there any additional questions? Anything online? Great, so thank you so much again for your patience with all of our technical difficulties that we were having today. We do have a survey here if you want to take the time to go ahead and submit. Again, my name is Marcella. I am a procurement agent. We have Kiana, thank you so much, and Beth, thank you. And thank you all for being here. If you have any questions or if you would like to leave your company information, you could leave that here with me and I could share that with the departments. Also, if you're still online, feel free to drop your company name and maybe the type of services you provide, and I could share that information with the departments as well. Or you could email us directly at our procurement email or our bids email, and we could go ahead and pass that information along if you don't want to contact the department directly. And that concludes our meeting for today. Thank you so much.
Yay.